Hey kids, it's Old Man shouting at clouds, and now with others too. Chatting about the CFL is what they're going to do. Some have no contacts and others have no clues. Everyone will tell us all their quirky football views. Hear what Old Man and others know. It's the CFL Outsiders Show.
Hey, GT. What are we going to do this week?
Same thing we do every week, old man. Take over the CFL.
Hey, kids. Welcome back to another episode of the CFL Outsiders. I remain, as always, your 100% impartial, completely unbiased, and very frazzled host, Old Man Shouting at Clouds. Joining me as usual this week is MJ.
Hey everyone, since the Stampede is on, I think we all figured out this week who's all hat and no cattle.
Aha, nice line. And GT.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another week and another victory, and we're in the right track. We're going forward.
All righty. Well, I'm going to start out this week by saying that if they ever revive the XFL and I get to play, my nickname for my shirt going to be Technology Hate Me. It was a nasty week. I apologize to everyone for the editing on last week's show. Not great. The program we use did an all new wonderful AI assisted upgrade, and it's got some issues. I'm hoping I've been working with it. I think they've maybe done a patch or two. It's a little bit better, but no, it was a little ridiculous. I'd block out a section to edit out and it'd go great. I'll take out a section 10 minutes down the track from it. So it was a lot of it was trying to, by guess and by golly. And then the next day, so I did that on the Wednesday. On the next day, the Thursday, I was getting all set to do my Old Man Plays CFL Weekly Fantasy, and some truck drove underneath one of our local fiber optic lines, and I lost all the internet for the entire day.
How is your fiber optic lines in the air?
That's what they do out here. Too much rock. They don't bury it. It's strung overhead on the phone lines and it goes across a road somewhere, and it didn't anymore.
Yeah.
So anyone that caught the podcast or the video version of the fantasy show, I did it all on my mobile. So it was rather abbreviated, and hopefully it was some help to you, and hopefully this week will be better. But the other thing about it, what was, I'm told, the best game of the year, the most fun, exciting game to watch between Calgary and Toronto, I managed to find a stream of QR 770 out of Calgary and listen to it on the radio. So I didn't even see that because it was gone until almost midnight. So when we get there, I'll be leaning on you. But that was my week. Hopefully yours was all a bit better. Anything worth complaining about, or
no?
Nothing to trumpet?
Still vertical after all these years, as I like to say.
All righty then. Yep. On the right side of the grass, as they say.
Yeah, exactly.
So let's start with the big news this week. And I feel, well, not responsible, but it's just funny how things work out. I came back from the BC Edmonton game, and as I was going home, it occurred to me, my gosh, we're almost through week 5 and every starting quarterback is standing. I shouldn't be thinking things like that because Sunday night's game was bad. First, Zack went down with a upper body injury, and then we lost Bo. Zack, it's hard to tell. They haven't said anything. Bo got a sack by Ceresna where his leg got rolled up on. It was obvious he was hurt right away, and they have since announced from the Tiger Cats that he underwent surgery on Monday morning and will be moving into rehab. No word on if he's coming back or how soon or anything like that. So I know what your thoughts are, MJ, and I'm happy to see that there are no open tiers, but just in general, what do you think about what does this do for both the Tiger Cats and East Division and the league now?
Well, that coaching staff was the most unprepared for a quarterback going down I have ever witnessed. That was horrendous. Bo's 36. I know he didn't get hurt last year, but this is my thing. You got to be giving your backup some reps at practice. You need to be running plays with the top line receivers. If you never have game time experience, you can't expect people with no game time experience to just jump in when a starter goes down and just have it just move smoothly along. The Bombers moved pretty smoothly along. They did okay. Ticats didn't. So, I mean, that game aside, this is a bigger issue of what they're going to do. What is Jared Baines? I can't believe he has a job today. That I honestly, and my bad for thinking Scott was a good coach when maybe it was just Bo all along, because that was horrendous. So now we need another backup quarterback. And who's available? Is it going to be Tyree Adams, who's just finishing up in the AFL? Is it Jeremiah Mazzoli? He's been in Hamilton before. Is it Shea Patterson? Is it Caleb Evans? Do they try to desperately trade for Nick Arbuckle? I don't know, like Brock Sutherland and Orlando Steinhauer are going to have their work cut out for them. Let's see what they can do. But it has to be better than that. It has to be.
If nothing else, as a coach, you should at least know who your backup is. Because apparently they don't.
The carousel of quarterbacks, and a good OC can play call for the quarterback. If you're a good OC, you can call plays for a specific quarterback, and that did not happen for either Dolegala or Ford in that game.
How about you, GT? What's your thoughts?
Yeah, well, as soon as they showed that replay, I said, nah, his foot's not supposed to look like that. It was going the opposite direction. They have not said exactly what it was, other than it was broken, but they haven't said which bone was broken. They haven't said how many was broken. They haven't said the degree of the break. They haven't told us anything other than Bo's going to be back as soon as he can. So we're really kind of in the dark. That could be 6 weeks. That could be, if it's a simple fracture or something like that, it could be, it could be 6 weeks. It might be back for playoffs. It could be season ending. It could be career ending. We don't know any of that yet. And maybe they are not sure themselves and they don't want to talk about it because they're not sure, but it's not really forthcoming of them to not tell us at least the extent of the injury, because it wasn't obvious. Like when Chad Kelly broke his leg there, it was obvious what had happened. So you knew that was going to be a long time, and they announced right away. This could be as significant as that. He could be gone for the rest of this year and into early next year, because don't forget, next year moves forward by a month as well. So the recovery time is a month less than you would normally have. And he's 36 and will be 37 by next year. Let's hope this isn't something that finishes Bo's career. I don't think that it will be, but you never know. It may be his own decision. It may be something as simple as, I don't need this anymore. I've got a job waiting for me somewhere in media or somewhere else. And it doesn't look like I have the opportunity to bring the cup back to Hamilton after all. So it could be as simple as that. But it wasn't anybody's fault. It's just one of those things. It just was bad luck and a football injury. So don't blame anyone. Don't get freaked out about, bad, dirty play or anything, because it wasn't. It's really unfortunate that, a guy that's on a third year in a row of maybe being the MOP and looking like he is going to finally break that drought for the fans of Hamilton. It's really, really unfortunate for him, for the league overall, to lose a player like that. And in Winnipeg, at first I thought that was a high hit. My immediate reaction to that, even as the play happened, was I said, oh, that's high. But then when they re-showed it, it was on the shoulder. So it's more than likely his neck rather than a concussion. As always, every time he gets a hit, everybody jumps to the conclusion that it's a concussion, but it wasn't necessarily a concussion. It could be that neck injury that he had last year re-aggravated. He looked more pissed off than he injured on the sideline. So I think that he's probably going to be back, as MJ said. I think he's going to be back sooner than later, if not this week, maybe the week after. So although they might give him a couple weeks because they're playing, I think, a couple weaker opponents. So they might want to just take some time with him. But I don't think that's as desperate a situation as Hamilton. Hamilton is basically, for want of a better word, screwed. Yeah. They have nobody in the system. Trey Ford, the luster is off, the shine's off the bloom, or whatever you want to call it. But he's not the guy that we thought he was going to be at this stage. I agree with MJ. They did nothing to help him. They did nothing to help Dolegala, but I'm not as sold on. I've never been sold on him either. So they need to find somebody. Mazzoli might be the best bet simply because he at least has enough experience to step in. Because I've heard Duggan name thrown around. I've heard all these other guys, Tyree Adams and so on, but they've never had a lot of experience themselves. So it's not like you can just expect them to all of a sudden put you back in the playoff race. This completely upsets the apple cart in the East as far as I'm concerned. Like Montreal, with barring an injury to Davis Alexander, should walk to the Eastern title now, and Toronto should finish in second. They really should. You mentioned Nick Arbuckle. Would Toronto trade him? I mean, they're looking at the same situation. I mean, if Kelly goes down, they're looking at exactly the same situation. I don't know what they're going to do. I really don't. My first thought was they should be making a trade with Winnipeg.
Drew Brown.
No, they're not getting Drew,
No?
but they could. No, I don't. No, I think Drew's the guy. I think Drew's going to be there, but I think that you could get the guy that's doing short yardage right now that was in the UFL before. He's at least been in a system. He at least knows the
We
league a
have
little
two
bit.
of those, though. The Ticats have two of those guys.
Do they? Because who else do they have? Who's behind those two guys?
They have two backup short yardagey type guys already. Honestly, I wish in my dream scenario in this situation, the Ticats would get, if you could trade coaches, would get Jarius Jackson to come over to Hamilton and run offense for Trey Ford, because they worked really well in Edmonton together. And that, in my head, that is what needs to happen, and it obviously will not. And it's going to be, I bet you Jeremiah Mazzoli's packing his bags now.
I suspect it's going to be Mazzoli.
Maybe he'll win Hamilton a Grey Cup the second time through.
Could be. Stranger things have happened.
Things have happened.
But I just don't know what they're going to do otherwise. As we talked about going into the season, the problem wasn't with starting quarterbacks, it was with backup quarterbacks. And I thought the only place that had a solid backup quarterback that you could rely on was Toronto. And it's still the case, in my opinion. Maybe Edmonton.
This is what happened to Montreal last year.
Yep.
When Alexander went down, how many games did MBT win? Not very many. Yep. And they kind of deflated, like the Ticats deflated, like their entire team deflated if he wasn't on the field. Winnipeg didn't deflate when Zach went out. Hamilton collapsed on all three levels. They just completely crumbled. And that's exactly what happened to Montreal. But we don't have a timeline, whereas Alexander, you did have a bit more of a timeline. So we'll see.
And for Milanovic to come out and say that both of those two quarterbacks have different strengths and they run different plays better and they're not as good at other plays, it's like, yikes. Like, how can you not have full faith in your quarterback to run your full playbook? If that's the case, why is he your second string quarterback? That's crazy.
What are they doing with these quarterbacks all of spring training?
Yeah.
Brock Sutherland is Senior Director of Player Personnel. Scott Milanovic is head coach. Like, what were these men doing? Because it wasn't their job.
Well, I've got to agree with you that the cupboard is very bare. I don't see Mazzoli as a viable option.
Nor do I.
But what other choices?
Yeah.
Well,
it's the best of a bad lot.
Yeah. It's the best of a bad lot.
I think your best hope is that Milanovic can adapt his offense, can be a good OC, and adapt to Trey. Because Trey's got potential. He may not be a fantastic quarterback, but if you let him use his natural ability, he's better than anybody else that's out there right now.
This is the man that benched Bo.
Right.
I know, but
100%.
This is the man that benched Bo. He is not going to even remotely try to play to Trey's strengths, and it's so boneheaded, but he is determined to make pocket passers, and if you aren't a pocket passer, which makes me insane. Why did you sign him if you knew this? And they're probably like, Scott will just work with him. They'll figure it out.
I don't know. The only other option that I see out there, and personally, I don't think it's a better option than Trey or even Mazzoli, but if you're looking for someone who's at least been in a system for a while and has played one or two games, you could check and see how high the riders are on Shagler, their number 3 guy that everybody was so big on in the offseason, and see if you could do a trade for Jack Cohen. because he's at least been in the CFL for 4 years now. He's played a few games, hasn't necessarily looked fantastic, but I honestly can't think of another name out there, because you're not bringing in someone without any CFL experience.
Yeah, exactly.
And expecting them to do anything.
I think they're waiting to find out if it's a 6-game injured situation or a we're done for the year situation before they start.
I should hope they'd know
panicking.
that by now with the surgery done, but who knows?
Yeah.
I can't think of another team that's in a position they'd be willing to trade whatever they have for a backup. Nobody's great, so they're going to hold on to the best they've got.
Well, that's the only reason I mentioned Winnipeg, because Winnipeg to me is the only team right now that has a surplus of quarterbacks, because they just traded for Drew Brown. So they have 4 guys right now, and so they have one that they could move. Yeah. I don't think it's going to be Drew Brown, and it's certainly not going to be Zack, and I don't think they've given up on Taylor yet. I don't see it.
I think it's Perkins, I think, isn't it? That's the third string in Winnipeg. He's got short yardage experience for a few games. He does not know the CFL either. That's the whole thing. That's not an option, unless you're going way back in the cupboard. Who is the guy that was their savior in Edmonton? I can't remember the tall.
Tyler Cornelius?
Yeah.
If he signs in Hamilton, I am not watching any of those games.
Yeah.
It's bad news for the team. It's bad news for the league, because it takes a competitive team that had a shot out of it unless Milanovic can adjust his coaching.
Well, Scott and Jared are going to have to just bite the bullet and swallow their pride and play call for someone who is not a pocket passer.
Yeah. It's if you're a professional, it's what you do. And on the Zack side, I tend to agree with you, GT. I mean, I'm not a doctor, and you certainly don't diagnose things from a television screen. But overall, he did not appear concussed to me. He did not seem out of sorts that bad. So I tend to think, better chance it's a neck injury. Is that better or worse news? I don't know. A concussion, if it's not a bad one, maybe a week or two he's back in. But if that neck is acting up again, that could be off and on all season like it was last year.
Yeah, exactly. It was 4 or 5 weeks, I think, he missed last year. So, yeah.
But it wasn't a great weekend for Bo all around, because he did put team above friends. You were going to tell us a little bit about that, MJ.
Oh, Bo or Zack?
Zack. Did I say Bo? Sorry.
I was like, did both of them get invited to this wedding?
You never know. No, sorry, Zack. Yes, thank you for correcting me.
Right. So in case you didn't know, Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift got married in New York on Friday. And in case you also didn't know, Zack is really good friends with Travis Kelce. They were roommates together in the University of Cincinnati, and they played on the same football team. I think Jason was also one of their roommates. Can you imagine the 3 of those men in one house? Anyway, he got invited to the wedding. He's really, really good friend. I actually thought he might be in the wedding party, but they did only have bridal parties. Zack got interviewed. He said that he told Taylor and Travis to check the damn schedule because he had a game that week. So he didn't go, and he said it was really too bad because Travis was at his bachelor party and his wedding, engagement, all the things. Travis has come to all of those things, and so he couldn't go. However, I said, the wedding is in New York, and you're playing in Hamilton on Sunday. I feel like you could have gone to that wedding. Anyway.
Yeah.
He played, and he got hurt. So karma is a breeze on the weekend.
Yes. If he'd gone off to be with his friends and missed the game, he'd be feeling fine. He
wouldn't have missed the game. I think you could have done both. I think I was like, is this O'Shea who wouldn't let him go, or is this Zack? I just need to be super prepared for this game. I couldn't go.
Yeah, who knows? It's funny. All the karma stuff is kind of silly, but it is kind of fun. I want to call a bit of an audible here based on the lineup that we talked about for the show lineup, and just mention something as well while we're talking about this wedding thing, because I did something earlier in the day where I had said, I don't care about this wedding and I don't care about the other event of the weekend because it's just fluff. But MJ, you were correct. And you said the other event, which of course we could talk about during the BC game if you like, is not just fluff because it is PR. And I think it shows a bit of the CFL dichotomy right there in that certainly we're different age groups. And my immediate reaction is, who cares? It's ridiculous. It's silly. It's just nonsense. I don't care. I want to talk football. You and your demographic and your age group are more interested in that. And I think that's something that we have to be prepared for. And as the league, they have to embrace. So in some ways, I'm glad that they have brought it up. I think they should have done a better job in retrospect. I think they should have done a better job on the BC Edmonton game of showing some of that footage from whatever that other show is, because I never heard of it, but that doesn't mean anything. Other people have heard of it, and it's free publicity, and you take advantage of the publicity. And certainly when it's publicity aimed at a demographic that you're trying to reach, you should take advantage of it. So I wanted to apologize during the podcast for dissing you off in my note to you earlier in the day. And then when I thought about it, I thought, no, you know what? It's absolutely right, and we should be talking about it. Sorry for a little bit of a rant. Nonetheless.
That's okay. Let me jump in just so people aren't confused. GT's talking about Canada Shore and the BC Lions, if you haven't seen the article.
Correct.
The cast of Canada Shore filmed and helped out at a practice, and some of the Lions weren't impressed.
Unless you were James Butler, who was super starstruck.
Not to get your demographic thing wrong, GT, but it was me that said, should we talk about it? And MJ said, I'm not that worried about it.
Oh, well, because I want to circle back. I'm not done talking about Taylor Swift.
Okay, come on back to Taylor Swift.
And they will go to Canada Shore. But I just think you don't even realize when Travis Kelce started dating Taylor Swift, what that did for, like, NFL is already big, but that brought viewership and interest. I didn't even know who Travis Kelce was. And now I know everything about the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yep.
I know all of it. It's just like osmosis. Can you imagine what this would do for the CFL if, like, Travis and Taylor showed up at a Winnipeg Blue Bombers game to watch Zack play?
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Like, that's, anyway. So yeah, it is a big deal. And I wish they had hyped up Zack not going to that wedding more.
I don't know. To me, it would have been a tough thing to miss just because it's that wedding and, just the event of it. I mean, Adam Sandler was officiating. It was a hard decision, but he made it.
I would have gone to the wedding.
Yeah, I'm surprised that he didn't. I'm with you, MJ. I mean, he could have done a Vince Carter and just flown in and flown out like he did for his commencement. It's just
early season. It's early. You were already in Ontario. It was so close. I don't know.
And then any of the casual shots after the wedding have a bomber cap on. Because what kind of publicity would that get for people?
Jason Kelce has his kids and bomber stuff all the time. He's always posting it. I wish the CFL and the Bombers would repost those things, because he does put all their kids in Bombers gear. Yeah. Anyway.
And then on this other stuff, I don't know that we need to talk a lot. It's been covered by people, this whole Canada Shore thing. It's an offshoot to the Jersey Shore that was big down in the States. And they've somehow decided that Kelowna is the party capital of Canada. And they've put a show in here with a bunch of 20-somethings acting
silly.
I don't know. Yeah.
They're being in their 20s. That's what you need to be
see. Yeah. And if the crossover brings in viewers, I'm all for it. It's not, this has gotten so much publicity because of what it is, which is, basically a show that's playing on the whole sex appeal stuff of it.
It's scantily clad women running around with water bottles. Give me a break. As we talked about before, is that the best marketing? No, but that's what it is. And so it's marketing. There's viewership there. Take advantage of it. Right?
Yeah, exactly. So. It's not the first time it's happened. Last year, what do they call it? The Amazing Race Canada had the riders involved during their stop in Regina.
They've also been to Commonwealth.
Yeah. And they took advantage of that and used the marketing for it. So yeah, might as well do it. But
maybe with the three of us should have a viewing party of that episode.
Sure. Do something live on YouTube.
Yeah.
Yes.
Not
no, when it's airing. I didn't even know it was happening.
I was at least interested in watching Must Have Dogs, but I'm not interested in watching that.
Did you finish watching Must Love Dogs?
I still have an episode to watch.
God, it's the best
Since
episode.
I've been back, I have not watched the finale, so I will get to it.
Oh.
No spoilers.
I had another subscription running out I had to finish a bunch of shows with before my before my free subscription ran out. So
I know.
I was using that.
And I personally haven't watched it yet, only because I have a bit of a soft heart around dogs, and I've been told some of the situations they show can be a little tough to watch that they're rescuing the dogs from. So I'm not sure if I want to put myself through that or not. That's enough of that. Moving on.
Maybe you'll be in the background of this show.
Who knows? Maybe I will be, because I don't know if they were there on Saturday, but I was. Apple Bowl 2.0 or Apple Bowl Part 2, whatever. I don't want to waste a lot of time on this because I talked about it last week, but I do want to give the Lions full kudos for the stuff that they've done. Again, it was another home run, hit it out of the park, and they listened to the complaints or criticisms for the week before. They, of course, like I said, they couldn't do anything about the seating. They heard that the PA was bad. They brought in a bunch of extra speakers, and it was perfect. It was
Nice.
one of the better ones that I've ever been at for a professional football game. They talked about the fact that they ran out of almost all the booze by halftime last week. Well, this week they have beer, and then they have the hard type coolers. So gin coolers, vodka coolers, like that. The coolers still, they were putting tape up over their names on the menus before the game even started. So they were popular. But the beer was around until at the end of the game. They had local musicians, the Young'uns, on doing a post-game 45-minute concert, and there was beer still available for that. So just all around, a great, great job. I'm very impressed with it. It's not, like we said last week, it's not something that sustains for long term, but it was good. And I'll talk about in attendance. They came close to selling out again. So
Nice.
there we go. Like I said, don't want to talk about that a lot more, though. I guess we should talk a little bit. Last week I didn't think we had any guesses on our lyrical eloquence, and let me just recap this for if there's any new viewers. This is something GT suggested a few shows back. So we are now, when possible, sneaking in a line from a song. And if you catch it, we ask you to write in comments or contact us on Blue Sky or Reddit or whatever and tell us what the song was and who the artist was. So nobody picked them up this week. For last week, I did a little bit of Queen, You're My Best Friend.
But I picked it up. I knew it right away. I
tried to make it easy the way I did that in the middle of the segment on Lyrical Eloquence. How about the two of you? Did you drop one each, or?
Well, actually, it's perfect to follow up on the Apple Bowl experience right into this, because as I said at the end of last week's show, I used the same song twice with two different lines in last week's show, and both of them were to do with the BC Lions and the Kelowna experience and everything. And it was Joe Walsh, Rocky Mountain Way. And I used it twice in two different ways. I said, when we were talking about the firing of the coach, I used out to pasture, think it's safe to say, time to open fire. And then when we were talking about them possibly going 0-4, I said, and we don't need the ladies crying because the story's sad. We all know that, that's Rocky Mountain Way. And
well
Joe
done.
Walsh.
We snuck them past people.
So yeah, it's not obscure, but it is semi-obscure. So there you go.
Yeah, exactly. I'm trying to be less obscure, but apparently it's still a little too obscure. Although we've had some good guesses and people have picked them up in weeks in the past. So keep trying, folks. We're having fun with it. I hope you do too.
I put in 2 sets of Taylor Swift lyrics and no one figured it out.
Including me.
Good for you.
So what were the lyrics you used?
Oh, they're both from the Midnights album. One was Karma is My Boyfriend, and then from the title track, Karma. And I'm so in love I might stop breathing from the song Paris. In honor of the Swift wedding.
Yes, and it should have been on everyone's mind. How did they miss that? Perhaps our audience is not fully Taylor Swift compliant.
Well,
they should be.
Too bad for them.
All righty. Again, just rapid fire through a bunch of stuff. We've been talking about the attendance every week, up, down, and it followed that trend again. It was up week 4, week 5 was back down, and it seems like it's got a lot to do with the stadiums. Hamilton had 20,000 and change in there, and they were the top ones. Toronto had 19, or Calgary with Toronto there had just over 19,000. I said the Apple Bowl was almost a sellout. They said last week it was a sellout at 19,109. This week it was 19,083, so they were apparently 26 short of a sellout. And then Ottawa again was down just over 15,000, unfortunately, so the average was 18,000. $382.
I was really disappointed looking at the stands in 2 games, particularly in Calgary with it being Stampede Bowl and the night before Stampede. I thought that would look really bad. And then I thought Hamilton looked really bad considering, again, that team and both. I thought it would be well attended and just didn't look like it. Now, I know there's lots of reasons for that. It was Canada Day. It falls on the 1st of July. It doesn't mean you get a long weekend. However, it also means that a lot of people take the other 2 days of the week off and make it a long weekend. That's what I'm told happened in Calgary and in Hamilton.
What is interesting in Calgary is that during Stampede, all the locals leave.
Yeah.
And all the tourists come in. So if the tourists don't know about your football game, none of the locals are there.
Well, next game may be better because since we've started doing this, I've held off watching any or listening to any of the other CFL podcasts until we're done taping so that I don't inadvertently steal stuff and plagiarize. I mostly do that. This week I did listen to 3 Down Nation because I was hoping for more info on Bo and it wasn't there. But one thing they did say, which I didn't know, is apparently the Stampeders do have a promotion on this year that whatever their score is in a game, the next game you get that percentage off the ticket price. So the next Calgary game, any tickets they sell will be 58% off. So maybe that will bring more of a crowd in.
Yeah. And if they win, it'll be back-to-back against Montreal. You're right. It should be a better crowd. But yeah, that's a great promotion. That's a thin edge to walk, as you know. Whenever you give tickets away or reduce pricing, you may be ticking off your current price holders and ticket holders, et cetera, et cetera. So whatever.
I doubt they thought they'd be giving them at 58% off anywhere through the season.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, yes. The jerseys you're selling, you don't have a Toronto one, do you?
I do, actually. We're going to get to that. I was going to talk about that during the game, during the recap of the game. But yeah, there is a $94 price tag on a Kerry Joseph Toronto Argonaut jersey. If you're looking for that jersey, you may want to have a low-scoring game when they return to Toronto.
We'll talk about that more during the game, like you said. Okay. Well, that's where we're at. Plus, we're back with games in Winnipeg and Saskatchewan this week, and Montreal usually does well. Edmonton's on a bit of a burner, so who knows? Maybe they'll get some stuff up, and we'll get a real good set of attendance this week. But part of the reason we've said in the past maybe the attendance isn't as good as it is was the pricing, and we didn't know anything about that. So Cub reporter MJ was assigned to go on out and tell us how is the pricing on CFL tickets these days.
Right. Okay, guys, I did some research. I completely wrecked the algorithm on my Ticketmaster. I believe I had to type the Toronto Argonauts into it. It's just ruined. But I went and looked at some games, tried to keep the games close together in July, August, and the highest price and the lowest price for everyone, and if they had a kid's ticket. All right, BC Lions, highest ticket, $250. Lowest ticket, $25. Kids tickets, $20.
That's not so bad.
So not so bad.
Mm-hmm.
The Elks highest tickets about 100. Okay, and these are not without service fees. Please add on service fees to these. Some people's service fees were a lot higher than other teams. Like Toronto's was like $30 a ticket. Elks $108. Lowest ticket was about $30. Kids ticket was about $26.75. From Calgary, highest ticket was $170. Lowest was $32. Kids was $32. Riders, highest ticket was $428. For like the lounge access that you can just buy. And then the lowest ticket was $38. Kids tickets were about $22. The Bombers were $134 for the highest ticket. Lowest ticket was $35. Kids were $18. The Argos highest ticket was $100. Lowest ticket was about $38. I couldn't find any kids prices. Ticats highest ticket was $126. Lowest ticket was $65.70. No kids tickets. So that's like $65 for sitting in the upper deck. Red Blacks, highest ticket $287. Lowest ticket $25. No kids tickets. The Wets don't even use Ticketmaster. It was the best. I had to go on like a little hunt. They sell it right through their website. They have a whole separate thing. Their highest tickets were $226, lowest $30, and they have promos where kids are $10. Kids tickets are $10.
I thought that was just this weekend, though. I didn't think that was ongoing.
It's not every game, but there's a few games down the stretch where kids' tickets are $10.
Yeah. Bottom line is they can get a bit pricey for those that want to spend it, but you can still, for a pro sports game, you can still get tickets at a reasonable price. And I haven't been in all the stadiums, but the ones I've been in, there's none where your sight line is completely obscured that I've come across.
Well, I mean, like for the Hamilton, if there's 4 people going, that's $260 plus Ticketmaster fees, plus parking, plus drinks, plus food. So that's turning into a $400 night afternoon pretty fast for one game.
But again, for 9 games of the year and sports like hockey and baseball, from what I know, you can spend that for every game.
Well, that's what Ticketmaster will tell you. That's not what tickets cost. And because I've always found that if you do that kind of a search on Ticketmaster, it always seems to be more money than you will actually pay. I regularly attend Toronto, Hamilton, and Ottawa games and occasionally Montreal games. And then on a rare occasion, I will fly back to Calgary. When I fly back to Calgary, I'm shocked at the ticket prices, how expensive they are for the same kind of seating packages. I am always amazed at my season ticket prices in Toronto. I sit on the 35-yard line, second tier, right up behind the Argo bench, and we are on top of the field, and it cost me $28 a game.
What?
$28 a game. I buy tickets in Hamilton on occasion, not through the ticket office and via the Ticats, and I pay anywhere for the same kind of tickets, usually a little higher, but again, around the 30-yard line, cost me about $40 a ticket. And that's, again, getting into mid-level in the stadium or higher, mid to 2/3 up in the stadium. When I was in Calgary, I paid $80 for the same kind of ticket I paid $28 for in Toronto. And I was shocked and flabbergasted that it cost that much to go to a Stampeder game. So I go, wow, no wonder the stands aren't full at that kind of money on a regular basis, to be honest with you. I wouldn't do it. Well, not that I wouldn't do it. Of course I would do it. But I'm amazed at the difference. Bar none, the Argos are the best value of any professional sports team in this country. There simply isn't anything else out there at that kind of price, at that kind of seating capacity, at that kind of competition level. As I say, $28 a ticket is what it costs me and it has not gone up for the 5 years I've had season tickets. So
we'll see if that changes in Toronto, because there's been a slight change in the ownership there. I think it was a year or 2 ago that Rogers and the other minority owners bought up Bell's share of it. Well, it was announced this week that Rogers is buying out the other minority owners now. So who knows if that will be a positive or a negative change towards it. Most of the commentary I've seen on social media out of Toronto is that Rogers was the least enthusiastic of the owners about having the Argos in the first place. So how will it affect the Argos? I don't know. I'm curious what you all think.
Go ahead, MJ. Let me. You wanted to talk about it. Let me go ahead.
Well, it's just interesting because they own every single team in Toronto.
Except one.
Which one do they not own?
They do not own the Toronto Tempo, the WNBA team.
Yes, the Tempo. That's right. Okay, so they don't own the Tempo. They own everything else. Right. Any sport you want to go to in Toronto, except for the Tempo, which 5 years from now, they probably will own the Tempo. They got announced that they bought out the shares today. They already cut a bunch of radio stations out here in Western Canada and BC, and the Calgary Flames aren't going to have play-by-play on radio anymore. Like they just, they're like, no. Yeah, they're like, so unless someone else picks it up, but they said no, they're cutting that. So for sports, I mean, like CFL doesn't exist in a bubble. Like this is a sports issue, and they're just shoving you all to streaming, right? Like there's no other options anymore. They do have to. Like I used to listen to the Blue Jays on the radio when I was just doing stuff, and I won't be able to do that anymore either. They've cut that radio station too.
Interesting. I hadn't heard about the radio station, and that I hadn't heard that news today that they also shuttered a bunch of stations. The conglomerates have been shuttering radio stations for 10 years or thereabouts. So I'm not surprised in some ways that they're doing it again. From the Argos' point of view, in my opinion, it's better to be owned by MLS than not. In that, even if they don't care, they're not actively against you. When they didn't own of the Argos, they were actively against the Argos. So I would rather have them ignoring the Argos than being against the Argos. There has been talk since they made the announcement yesterday that they are going to be spinning off some of it over the next year. So they will be bringing in some other partners over the next year. Who they are, what they are, we don't know. And that may mean that Larry Tannenbaum, who owned the Argos and was the guy at MLSE that championed the Argos for the longest time, and now is, as we mentioned, the sole owner of the Toronto Tempa, he might come back into the picture from the Argos point of view. But if he does, it's not good for the Argos. Because, as I say, I believe you're better off being ignored than being targeted. So,
hey, Rogers, trade Arbuckle to Hamilton.
Well, I said tongue planted firmly in cheek about it that, hey, Rogers wants an NFL team in there. Maybe they'll spend a bunch of money and start pumping up the Argos so they can say, look, we get $35,000 to a CFL game. Give us an NFL team.
Yeah.
I don't think so. No, it's a non-zero possibility, but not much better than that.
Exactly. Exactly. Hey,
okay.
Are we talking expansion right now? Because I'm telling you, something happened in the last 2 days that makes expansion a whole lot more interesting.
What's that?
Mr. Carney just announced how many? $100 billion into submarines? Where do you think that money's going? It ain't going to the flatland. It's going to Halifax. And how many jobs is that going to bring in? And how many people is that going to put to work in Halifax over the next years? And et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. So start that ball rolling again. Yeah. Start that ball rolling.
They want to build a pipeline to Churchill, so maybe we'll have a CFL team there too.
Yeah, what the heck, yes. Two things that remain constant in the CFL, chaos and hope.
That's right.
All right, but enough of that. We got more to talk about, so let's bump up signings and releases this week. There wasn't really a lot notable, a few lower name special team players released and signed, but the big news that came out this afternoon is the Tiger Cats opened up the checkbook and gave Keandre Smith a 1-year extension that is going for 2027 is going to be worth $272,500 in hard money with an additional $5,500 available in All-Star and award bonuses. So possibility of making just over $278,000 next year. Do you figure Keandre is worth that? And can you have two receivers of that kind of price on the team? Because they already have Lawler.
At this point, he's worth it. He started last year, and then this year he's improved, and he's better. And he's showing that he's a top Canadian receiver, top 2-3 Canadian receiver in the league, and that's the price range for top 2-3 Canadian receivers in the league. So yeah, absolutely, he's worth that kind of money. I was only a little surprised that it was a 1-year extension, that it wasn't 2 years. To me, that says he's going to be shopping the market, and he's betting on himself. And he's betting on the TV contract showing up and the money going up even again in 2028. And he's hoping to push 300 in 2028. It's unfortunate that now they're paying on him a lot. They're paying Keandre Smith a lot of money without a quarterback to throw him the ball. That's the only downside from Hamilton's point of view. But for him, get the bag. Absolutely, get the bag.
This was not, I understand they need to release this today, but honestly, this was like a pay no attention to the man with the shattered ankle behind the curtain. Look over here, guys. Keandre Smith got an extension. Anyway, we're all like, we're not, like Ticat fans, we're not interested in that news today.
Yeah. It would have been a great announcement coming off of a 35-10 win over Winnipeg, but not this. Well. Moving on quickly. This week's World Cup report. Most of us don't care. Moving on to...
England's in. Canada's out, guys. They fought really hard against Morocco.
You keep trying to sneak actual World Cup news into the report.
I'm cheering for my second team now. I got my England jersey on.
Yeah.
And the U.S. is out. The U.S. is out despite Donald Trump getting a red card reversed. They
a little
still
bit of
lost to Belgium.
schadenfreude there. I actually know the score between Belgium and U.S.
We all know the score.
And it made my heart go pitter-patter.
See?
Anyway.
Uniting everyone.
Yes. We were going to talk quickly, too, our fantasy teams this week. I was 1-3 going into the week, looking to bounce back, and I did. I had 132.5 points this week, and that got me the top score in the league. So it didn't really matter who I played against. Now, in our little chat board, I posted saying I'll take it, but I feel kind of bad about it because I'm fairly sure I wouldn't have had top score if Bo hadn't been hurt. Awful lot of people had him on their teams. But, like I said, I'll take it. I was up against Safmod from Piffles, and I beat him, so that was kind of nice. For whatever, I'll talk more about it on Thursday, about sort of what I did with it. But I'm coming back. I'm now 2-3. I'm 4th in the actual scoring for the league, but 8th or 10th in the standings because I've lost 3 games. And next week I go up against Shoots from the Hip. So we'll see how that goes. How about you, MJ?
Well, what a week for me to go against Ryan, who only picked Stampeders.
Yes. And with the number 2 score in the league with his gimmick stuff. Yes.
What a week for me to pick Bo and Kenny. Yeah. What a week for me to pick Brooks. I had 2 players in that Toronto-Calgary game. That one Toronto receiver had 1.3 points, and Brooks had 5.2. Out of all that scoring, I had 81.3. I lost to Ryan. I'm 3-2. It's moving on.
Yeah, you're still better than I am.
My kid tried to make me not pick Bo, and I was like, Alexander's not playing, so we get to pick Bo. And he's like, well, you shouldn't pick Bo. And then he was right. He was right.
For whatever it's worth, as much as it hurts my heart, I went with Kelly again, and he was the second highest scoring quarterback in the league this week. So behind, of course, VA.
Behind VA. If you had VA as your captain, I think you would have had, 98 points?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, like I said, I looking through the stuff, I don't know that anybody took VA this week in our league.
Ryan from the Horsemen.
Oh, yeah, other than Ryan, yeah. Yes, other than Ryan. Yes. But let's talk about the games. And this first one was what we were mentioning. Toronto went to Calgary and scored 36 points, which is normally enough to win a game. But Calgary scored 58. And as I said, I didn't see this one. I had to listen to it on the radio. Their announcers, I have to say, at QR 770 do an excellent job. I felt like I had a pretty good grasp of what was going on, but I'm going to mostly lean on the two of you to talk about the game. I will say this, towards the end of the second quarter, it occurred to me that there's an old football chestnut that says, you're going to win a certain amount of games no matter what you do, and you're going to lose a certain amount of games no matter what you do. This did not seem like one of those games to me. It wasn't that Calgary was going to win. It was just that, from what I was hearing, they played an amazing game of football. VA put on a skills clinic. I'm going by what I was told. Would you all agree with that? We'll let GT go first because I'm imagining you're happy to talk about this one.
Yeah. Again, I just want to start off, first of all, about talking about the Kerry Joseph jersey on CFL Fight Cancel. It is, after that score, worth $94 at this point in time. And that is a Toronto Argonauts Kerry Joseph jersey. And as I said, let's hope that for anyone that wants to purchase it, you're hoping for a low-scoring game. I don't think you're going to see that in Toronto either. I think it's another high-scoring game. I think I said last week that I thought it would be a high-scoring game and Calgary would squeak it out. And Calgary would squeak it. I didn't expect this to happen. It was, VA was unbelievable. He pointed to the sky several times. And all I could think of, he's just sitting there and he's looking up and after every play. And it's like, I've been waiting for this moment for all my life. Oh, Lord, can you see it coming? It's just like everything was working for him. The rest of the team wasn't that good. The O-line had its moments. That, to me, they let a lot of pressure. The defensive line had its moments, but they let Kelly get away in a lot of cases. And Toronto kept coming back, and I kept going. Guys, I'm so glad the VA kept his foot on the gas because There was lots of moments just where Toronto could have come back and won that game just as easily. In the last 2 minutes of the first half, that's where Calgary kind of put it away. But even then, Toronto kept it within 9 points. So they had it down to 2 points at one point going in with a minute or 2 minutes left in the first half. It looked like they were back in that game. So as strong as that game was for the Stampeders, I don't want to write off the Argonauts. They looked pretty good considering how amazing, absolutely amazing BA was. And his receivers were catching balls. Well, that was crazy. They're like the Tevin Jones interception tip that was right off the hands of a defender and then right into his. That was incredible. Tevin Jones is, I think I've already talked about him several times, but he is I can't make out this guy because he did several things that were absolutely astounding, like that play and then the 77-yard catch and run down the sideline for the late touchdown in the first half. And then he just waffles, just whiffs on pass protection that just makes me nuts. And just seems to stand around on other things where it's just like, it's so obvious. So he's my guy that just makes me crazy. But overall, yeah, I was pretty happy. It was a really exciting game. Great way to start the week. Great way to set up the weekend in games. And yeah, there was just great plays from all the way around, from both sides, offense and defense, interceptions, receptions, tackles, sacks, everything. It had it all. It had it all. It was like 1993 all over again. It was great.
Let me just jump in and say on Tevin Jones, and I don't know this for sure. This is just what the scuttlebutt was when he was in Saskatchewan. So take it for what it's worth there. I could be wrong. But the scuttlebutt was his athletic talent and his ability to make plays was so incredible, you just kept giving him a chance. But his ability to learn the playbook, if he actually happened to be in the right place in the field to make a block or a catch, it was more luck than anything else. So that may explain what's going on there.
His teammates seem to love him. I give him full credit. He seems to be a really popular guy in the locker room and on the field. So he's doing something right. I mean, as a fan watching it, he makes me nuts. But every time he does something, he did those 2 plays, this is so good. I'm still pretty happy. We're 2 and the game was great, and we seem to be trending in the right direction, as they like to say. So I'm looking forward to this weekend.
It was the Stampede Bowl, so we'll let MJ talk about VA and his buckle or something, I'm thinking.
Oh, yes. Happy Stampede Bowl to all who celebrate. There was no way VA was going to let anyone else out of that stadium with that. But he got the belt buckle again this year as MVP of the game. Of no surprise. He went 20 for 25. He has 6 touchdowns. He had more touchdowns than incompletions. He tossed a pass with his left hand. He's right-handed. Tossed it with his left hand for a touchdown pass. There was nothing he could not do. He was going to do everything. Yeah, it was, there's just like every once in a while, every few years, there's a game like this where someone has like a performance like this, and it's just such a privilege to watch because you never know if it's going to happen again.
Sometimes a good athlete just, it's cliche, but gets in the zone. And when it happens, it's a beautiful thing to watch.
You know what? He had also another amazing performance at Stampede Bowl last year, so he's just built for Stampede Bowl. Like, they just built a little, like, celebration around him.
Yeah, they need to get a trophy for every game.
Oh. The Stampeders had a line dance celebration for their first TD Selly, so that was fun. I appreciated that. Good job, boys. What else happened? They ran out of fireworks because they scored so many touchdowns. They had to post because they had to save a few fireworks for the end of the game. So they had to be like, sorry, we don't have any more fireworks. Yeah. We ran out because there was 7 touchdowns. Let's see what else.
How was Quick Six holding up by the end of the game?
Okay, let me tell you, Chad Kelly is enemy number 1 in Calgary because he hit Quick Six with a football.
Oh.
He hit Quick Six.
Yeah.
And Quick Six flinched, but didn't bolt. But actually, Quick Six stopped running after a while. But yeah, Chad hit Quick Six with a touchdown, an attempted touchdown pass. So he was, and they re-showed it many times, and everyone was very upset. So, Chad. And then Chad, speaking of Chad, you put up 36 points and you still got pulled. In what universe does this happen, right?
He only put up 28 because Nick put up the other one.
Oh, that's right. Sorry. So you're right. My bad. Why would I give him credit? You're right. 28 points and still got pulled.
I mean, I know we like to make fun of Chad, but that wasn't his fault. He just kept coming back, and then the Stampeders just ran away with it in the third and fourth quarters. That was the right decision. We talked about it before. You need to give your second string guy second string guy. So it was the right decision to have him sit for the last 5 or 6 minutes.
For sure. He is to blame for hitting the horse with his football. Yeah, Ben Major called a penalty procedure on everyone except for the center, and I had a nice little chuckle about that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ben.
And you know the best thing about him is that he laughs while he does it.
Oh, I know, he's hilarious. He knows.
He's so bought into it by this stage that it's just like, oh my God, this is me again, right? Yeah, the whole line except for the center. Yeah.
Except for the center. And then, so during the first half, there's a tight pan-in shot on Miller with his CB radio. Like, what's with the CB radio? Anyway, that's another story. But all of a sudden, there's Lapo and Marshall.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, they're like, I think Milt's racing the cow. Oh, looks like the cow beat Milt. And I'm like, and meanwhile, they're tight in close on Miller on his CB radio. And I'm like, what? Why? Why are we not showing world's fastest cow race? And someone's like, oh, they'll probably do it at halftime. I'm like, well, then why wouldn't you just do it at halftime? Why do you have to have us panned up tight on the Argos sideline? The world's fastest cow beat Milt.
Yeah.
By I feel like Milt got a bit of like a 10-yard head start, but still the cow beat Milt. And after all that trash talk, can't beat the world's fastest cow.
Mm-hmm. Well, it is a fast cow.
I mean, it was obviously a halftime thing, so I wasn't sure why you were so upset. I honestly was like, it's a halftime thing.
Don't talk about it. You ruined my surprise.
They shouldn't have said anything.
No, I know. That's what I was mad about.
That was a faux pas on their part. But I did. Yeah. I was like, why are you upset?
I'm upset because Lapo's like, Anyway, I was really looking forward to that, and it got ruined. I still enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was fun.
And then I'm just wondering if offsides are turning into traveling calls in the NBA, because it doesn't seem to be calling offsides very often anymore. Is it just to enhance game flow?
I tweeted whatever we call it, posted on Blue Sky about no yards. It appears to me that there are guys within way with the restraining zone every time this year. It's crazy.
Did we miss a rule change?
And I don't know if it's my eyes or if it's the camera angles or if they're just letting them get away with it more often. But it appears to me that people are well within the restraining zone on a regular basis. And I'm not trying to say I saw it against the Stampeders in this play, but then I thought I see it all the time on all games, all teams. And I agree with your offside comment too. It's the same thing. It looks like they're just like they've loosened it up. They just want to go, let the game flow go. Don't call these kind of calls. So
maybe that's why the penalties are down this year.
Maybe.
I don't know. Personally, I hadn't noticed sort of either of those things. I mean, receivers on the waggle look like they're offside
every play
90% of the time, but that's always been. That goes back to Ray Elgard. What I've seen is when there are people on the line jumping, it generally gets called. And then there was, I can't even remember, it might have been the Ottawa game this week where they got called because their wide receiver lined up a yard ahead of the football from the start. And anyway, have we celebrated the excellence of the Stampeders enough? Anything else before we jump on?
Just to finish, rude of you, TSN, to cut away and go to a million FIFA football highlights when there was a Stampede Bowl presentation that I didn't get to watch and had to watch later on social media.
Okay. Again, unfortunately, I did not see it, so.
No one saw it.
Oh, well. Yeah, well, but overall, I did not see any of it. I had to trust
Well, you missed the game of the year.
the wonderful
Performance of a
pictures
lifetime.
that were painted by the QR770 group. Anyway, so going from that, which sounds like, even though it was disappointing for Toronto, it does sound like they were in it, and
Yep.
Kelly at least played well. We go on to a game that was not great. Saskatchewan went into Ottawa, and they won 27-22, but frankly, it was the worst offensive performance I've seen from Saskatchewan in a meaningful game in 2 or 3 years. Their big two receivers so far, Emelis and Schaefer-Baker, had a bad case of the drops. They dropped 5 or 6 between them. Luckily, Johnson stepped up. But it started out with Trevor Harris, who doesn't throw a lot of interceptions, getting picked off on the first series after one of the DBs, I can't remember who, jumped a quick curl route and batted it up in the air, and then A.J. Allen just made a absolutely incredible athletic play to snag it off the turf. That led to a Ottawa touchdown to start the scoring. That was probably the highlight for Ottawa. It didn't get a lot better. In my mind, if Saskatchewan had been playing any team but Ottawa on that night, they would have lost that game. It was...
Yep.
You know, they did some good, their defense did some good stuff. At the end, it got a little bit close, and when Ottawa tried to run on a 2-point conversion, they stuffed Bell out of the end zone, and then Ottawa, with probably, what was it? I think it was under 3 minutes to go, had the ball down on the Saskatchewan 16, 3rd and 1, and Jackson Ford came in and made a fantastic play, stuffing the quarterback for no gain at all. And then they put in Tommy Stevens, and between him and Connolly, they ran out the game, basically, which was impressive. Teams are going to have to work out how to stop that if Saskatchewan's got a lead late. But I didn't think it was a great game. What were y'all's opinions of it?
That was a bad game to watch. Ottawa is a bad football team that can't get out of their own way. They should have won that game, and they deserve to lose the game because they had it down to the 16, and that play, as good as a play as Jackson Ford made on that drive to stop that 3rd and 1, there's no way you should have stopped. I mean, you're driving at that stage. You've got to make that. And their offensive line, I've been saying this for a long time, their offensive line, for all great players they seem to have on that line, just doesn't seem to have the cojones to go out and push people around. They're just not dogged, for want of a better word, and they don't push people, and they get pushed around. I think that's still one of the biggest problems in Ottawa that they haven't fixed, and they need to fix. And then that whole thing with the punter on the side on that return, that was just brutal. That was just brutal. Saskatchewan looked flat 2 weeks in a row. I was shocked at how flat they looked, and maybe it was a trap game, but even at some point in time, I kept waiting for them to wake up and take full advantage of it, and they just didn't. But Ottawa was full value for the loss. Again, full value for the loss.
I actually thought this was a winnable game for the Red Blacks.
Yeah.
They were up 10-0.
Yeah.
They were up 10-0 off turnovers, right? Yeah. And then I felt like every second play there was an injured Red Black. Constantly, they felt like, I thought at one point I was like, are they going to recruit people from the stands to come and play? Are they going to have to, because there were so many players injured, like Pimbleton was injured, Niles Morgan, there was just so many, every single play. The punter, Getman, he apologized for his poor tackling skills.
He should be out like those old monks from the 1,000 years ago with the chains on his back. That's what he should be doing.
Apparently they said that if he plays like that again, he's cut. So
yeah, well, we'll get.
I think
to
he's
that.
gonna be cut anyway because there's a global punter kicking around somewhere. I just know it.
We'll get to that in a bit here.
Yeah,
there was one of the Red Black players took a punt off the face, because he tried to block, but he took it off the face. That is special teams. And then you have Getman who can't even shove somebody who's almost out of bounds. You just
or just step into his way. Just step over in front of him. At least make him go inside.
You just needed to lean your shoulder a little bit, and then meanwhile your teammates taking punts off the face, and then where? Okay, hey, I'm always under the impression that short yardage is a pretty automatic thing to do, and you should have it down and it should not be difficult. And this year I have learned that short yardage is apparently extremely difficult to do because the Red Blacks cannot do it. It's the most horrendous short yardage I've seen in. I was like, maybe it's harder than I thought. Maybe other teams are just really working at this and they just cannot figure it out. I don't know. It was dumb. Winnable game. Ryan is mad. Players being lazy. Other players playing hard. Players injured. Like sad Red Black story.
Yeah. Well, I know I've heard before that Cody Fajardo, if you want, will give you like a 45-minute, hour-long talk on how to play short yardage quarterback. So there's a lot more to it than you'd think. And that's the thing, is a team has to work on it and build themselves a package that works. I don't know if they don't practice it in Ottawa or what, but they've been fumbling. Yeah.
Barnes, like, it fumbled, and I'm like, it's just a handoff from the. How can this happen?
And that's happened with different quarterbacks running that package.
Is it their center that's the problem?
I don't know.
How is he passing that ball? Like, what's happening?
And like you said, a lot of people injured, most of them not permanently, but the one that to me is a big loss is Bennett Williams at halfback.
Oh, he tore his Achilles.
Yes, he went down non-contact and they've said Achilles since then, and he was playing really well.
He was.
Yeah.
Saskatchewan had lost Letcher to injury, so they brought in Sexton, I think it was, who'd been in training camp with them. They brought him back, and he got around the corner and tightrope down the sidelines very nicely. And as you said, the punter sort of stood and waved at him as he went by him. In the end, that was the difference in the game, too. I was okay with the Saskatchewan defense. Their offense did not play great at all. And even on defense, both sides only got one sack. So there were pressures there, but the defense doesn't explain the score in that game. Inept offense on both sides explains the score.
That game was so ugly and so boring and so bad that you had Dusty and Luke Wilson joking throughout the game, just trying to fill time. It was like a 40-point lead in a basketball game where Jack Armstrong is making stuff up to try to fill the time. That's what it was. They were telling stories during the game rather than reporting on the play because there was nothing to talk about. It was worth talking about on the field. From Thursday night to Friday night, it was polar opposites of the two types of game. Thursday night was this is everything we love about the league, and Friday night was this is everything we dislike about the league.
I wish with all my heart that Dusty and Luke had been doing Stampede Bowl.
Yeah.
They would have been so excellent at Stampede Bowl. That would have been just like a perfect.
But apparently Luke doesn't travel west.
Well, Dusty could have done the Stampede Bowl.
The other story out of this game was after it was over, Dinwiddie let loose on another one of his rants and talked about how his team has low football IQ and too many penalties.
Well, who's your coach, GM, and offensive coordinator there, Ryan?
I think they took 4 or 5 penalties for under 50 yards, and he complained about the penalties and just basically shredded the team in front of the media again. And I do not see how he thinks that helps.
This frustrates me because there are a lot of people on that team playing really well.
Yes.
There are a lot of people on that team, like, just lights out, and they could have won this game. There's a few pieces they're missing, which we've talked about, but it's not a complete disastrous, like burn it to the ground teams.
Then he doubled down this week, saying about the punter that if he does that again, he'll be gone. And he actually said, but we've handled that well for now. We played the tape in front of the entire team and let everybody comment on it. So yeah, that's going to motivate a guy. Yeah, shame, just here, let's mock and belittle you. That'll really, really give you the encouragement to go on ahead. I do not get the coaching style at all. It seems like he's frustrated and he doesn't know what to do. Just me. But if you're talking football IQ and you sit there and you're going, Brown or Mayer, the football IQ problem may start at the top of the chain.
Well, and then there was the comment about the calls. He called out the refereeing on, that an elbow doesn't matter if you touch down with your elbow. He says there's no difference between an elbow and a hand. There's a huge difference between an elbow and a hand. You know, the play, the Saskatchewan guy went out of bounds and then came back into the play. I immediately thought he went out of bounds. He can't come back in the play. But it's clearly stated in the rule books, as they said on the broadcast, that as long as you reestablish yourself, you're allowed to get back in the play. And he clearly did that as well. So there was no problem there. For him to say that kind of stuff, that's football IQ. So don't be blaming your play.
He's a little off the rails, huh?
Yeah.
Yes,
He might have bitten off more than he could chew. Yeah, it might all turn around. It's not like we thought they would have a great start to the season anyways. But
well, they already have a leg up with Hamilton going out, with Bo going out. So,
but they're digging a hole quick.
Honest to God, I don't know, because I think Hamilton still has better talent and better coaching. So we'll see.
We'll see.
I compare Ottawa this year to Edmonton last year. And because they were in the same position where they were coming off a disastrous seasons, they signed a whole new regime and they signed a whole bunch of new players with a lot of money, and they both started out poorly. But you didn't see Edmonton coaching staff losing it, and you didn't see Edmonton coaching staff do anything but positive reinforcement and say, we're going to get there, we're going to get there, we're going to get there. And they got there. That's what you have to do when you're in this situation. You can't just 4 games into a season that you knew was going to be a learning experience for everyone, throw everyone under the bus. That's what the weird part is. Like, I don't get it. I just don't get it.
I'm going to move on. We're going to talk about the game that I was at. So I don't have notes for this one. It's just sort of the memory stuff. But there was some very good things that happened when Edmonton came into BC here in Kelowna, and BC walked out with a 36-24 win. It was actually a very good game. It seemed closer than the score was, being there. And I've got a couple observations I'm going to talk about maybe a little bit later in a different segment, but it was certainly entertaining, fun to watch. BC obviously had decided that Rankin was not going to beat them, and the one thing their defense has done well so far this season is they've been good against the run. And anytime that they tried to get Rankin outside at all, there was 2 or 3 people on top of him within tackling distance. Didn't happen so much when they passed to him. He did get 100 yards, but they were set up, and that's what it took for them to win, basically. Edmonton got more yards than BC did, but BC was more productive with their chances. And frankly, neither team was protecting the ball well. Cody threw 3 interceptions. Nathan threw 2. So I'm glad BC got their win, but I'm not sure that it's all that great a sign for them. What do you think, MJ?
Well, Cody had 51 pass attempts this game, and that is not acceptable. He actually went 34 for 51. It was actually pretty terrible. It looked like, you know how we thought BC was having too much fun in Kelowna? It kind of looked like the Elks were having too much fun in Kelowna before that game. They looked pretty flat coming out. Julian Grant was open quite a bit because they were double teaming Rankin, and I don't think the Elks, he did get, how many touchdowns did he get? 2? I think they could have targeted him more because he was always open. Anytime they had to pass to him, there was nobody around him. Austin, is it Austin Mack? Is that his name? What's his first name? Anyway,
yes.
Mack had a really nice bounce back game. You know, he's one of those guys too where you're like, yeah, that's why they signed him. Hopefully that continues because sometimes he dips down, but hopefully that stays great. And then the wind, how was the wind there? Because did you Blanchard bent it like Beckham on a field goal that looked like it was going to go way wide, and it curved right back in and through. I was like, this is the kick of the year. Like, look at this thing. Yeah.
There was a wind, but it wasn't as bad as it looked on TV. And in fact, to tell you the truth, I was awfully thankful for the wind because it was hot. I think that the temperature was probably only like 28, 29, but it was full sun, no cloud, just beaming down. And the wind was what made it tolerable.
But yeah, I don't know. Like these two teams kind of it was nice to see the BC defense playing better. They definitely had a much better game plan going, and I think Benavides was probably on his last legs, packing up his office if you don't get this done today. And then they said their special teams, they're doing it by committee, and it actually was improved comparatively to the week before. So
yes,
each coach took a little piece of special teams and was running it themselves. They said they're going to be starting to look for a special teams coordinator going forward here in the next few weeks, but for now it seemed to be okay. The Elks, they did not look like a 3-0 team coming in. They looked very beatable. Rankin, he did have 100 yards receiving, but rushing was, they had that shut down.
The only thing I will say is that the score is closer than the game indicating. It never felt like BC was not in control, and yet there were, every time they seemed to go ahead and take control again, they would allow Edmonton to get right back in it. And I was like, oh, come on. Their special teams again would allow a big run back and so on. And it would just be set up Cody for another. Thank goodness for the interceptions and stuff. Otherwise, Edmonton could have won that game very easily. Edmonton, I think, got exposed. I think Edmonton got exposed a bit. That's more the team that I expected out of Edmonton than the first 3 games, to be quite honest. They're a good team. They're a very good team, but they're not that unbeatable thing that the first 3 games they look like. Yeah. Or at least they won the first 3 games. So.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting you say that it didn't seem close to you, because for me, they're live. It felt like BC had the lead, but wasn't outplaying Edmonton overall. I didn't feel secure in the BC victory until fairly late in the game, because probably what you were saying, they just weren't able to salt it away. The one other thing I got a kick out of, Sean White is such an accurate kicker. I don't know if he whiffed on the convert or if it got tipped or what. It was hard to tell at the game, but there was one that he came up, the convert was so short, it ended up rolling to the goalpost, and yet it rolled right to the center of the goalpost. Even though there was no distance on it, it was right down the center. So that was a fun little bit. Anyway.
I must have missed it on television.
I saw that he missed a field goal. I didn't see the convert.
Was it the field goal? I thought it was a convert that he missed on. Anyway, it was a kick.
On field goal. But you know what? Yeah. Interesting you say this, because there's been a few converts missed by several different kickers across the league this year.
The other thing that I noticed, both in this game and in others too, that they've still got the returners back there when the field goal is good, catching the ball at the back end line and then flipping it to the official, which means nothing. But don't do stuff that's going to make you make a mistake in a game. If it's a little bit wide and now you slide over 3 feet and catch it, now you got to get it out of the end zone. Whereas if you just let it go, you get the ball back on the 40. So I'd be telling my returners, unless it's something that looks like a real returnable kick, even if it's a good field goal, don't catch it. Don't go near it. Get used to letting it go by you. That's me. Anywho.
Oh, I just want to do my Andre Prue. He was reffing that game, and he's the best. I love this man. He was making a call against BC, and in the middle of it, people were booing, so he just stopped. Yeah. And he just waited until people stopped booing, and then he continued on with his call. And he's such a school teacher. Well, I'll just wait till you're all quiet before I continue. Love it.
And then we had the bad game of the week. Not bad necessarily because of any effort, but just because of how it turned out.
Oh, it was bad for effort and results. And
it was
bad.
Winnipeg 14 and Hamilton 13. And it wasn't great. I mean, Zack threw an interception on his first throw. And even before Bo went down, Hamilton's offense wasn't clicking as well as they have in the past.
They kicked a field goal from the 3-yard line.
Yeah, that was a weird decision.
Oh, my God.
But really, after Zack went down in the first half, they put Elgrisman in, and he didn't look terrible, but he was not looking like they were going to win the game with him in there. Frankly, I think the reason they won the game was not just because of Bo's injury, but when Bo was injured, they had to take him off in an ambulance. They couldn't start the game until a new ambulance got there, so they were prepared if anyone else got hurt. So there was about a 15-minute delay, and you could tell Hamilton was shook by what had happened with their quarterback. And the very first play after the stoppage ended, they do basically a jet sweep to Wilson that gets around the end and goes in for about a 30-yard touchdown. And that was the only really good offensive play Winnipeg had all game until the final drive when they were down by 2 points. And somewhere out of the back of his mind, Tommy Condell remembered, oh, wait, I have a running back, and ran Brady for 6, 7, 8 plays to get them into field goal range and won the game. But he had a half a game with a rookie quarterback in there. I think there was one series he ran Brady 2 or 3 times for a couple of first downs, and other than that, it wasn't there.
Okay, well, you know what? Hamilton did the same thing because Roundtree had 9 carries the whole game. Hamilton defense, you were not injured. You were not injured. There was sloppy tackling. It was sloppy tackling, and then they're running Brady. You know they do. And this was supposed to be, Wynton McManus's big game back. Defense, Hamilton defense. And then they just let Brady march down the whole field. And terrible effort. Terrible, terrible effort. I expected them to play better for Bo. Honestly. Yeah. We talked about what happened with the offense. That's awesome. That's coaching on. But Kenny Lawler had a catch he should have caught from Trey Ford. He launched it. Kenny catches those for Bo. He did not catch it for Ford. I don't know what happened. Doesn't matter. Did not catch it. The defense, there's no excuse. There is no excuse for how they played that second half. That was embarrassing. I was embarrassed to watch it.
Well, Kenny had 2 catches in the end zone that both would have taken a lot of talent to get the touchdown out of it. And the first time it worked, even though they called it incomplete and was only after review that they said, yes, he was actually in bounds. And then the second one, if I remember right, was ruled a touchdown. And then the review showed, no, it wasn't. The ball was moving underneath them. But yeah, there was some hope in that throw from Trey to Kenny. But like I said, Elgersma, to me, he coped. He didn't do anything stupid enough to lose them the game. Trey didn't cope. He was bad to terrible, and Dolegala was worse. So.
Well, you know what? Tommy Condell outcoached Jared, whatever his name is, Braid or whatever. He's new this year. He got promoted to OC. He got outcoached, plain and simple. End of.
Yeah.
We always talk about those Winnipeg halftime adjustments. Yeah. Well, they made them again. We're like, we have a rookie quarterback. We're not doing anything. He's not throwing the ball, even though he's got the big arm. Yeah, I think he threw 1 ball down the field, and that's it. Everything else, this game is going to be a slugfest. They obviously don't have a quarterback. Bo, on the other hand, he was already 200 yards going early when he got injured early in the third quarter. He was on target for another 400-plus yard game. I mean, as you can talk about Hamilton's offense not being, he would have put it together. I mean, that game, would have been out of hand once Zack got injured if Bo had stayed in the game. Instead, I think coaching made the difference. I agree with you, MJ. They got out in that they did not give their quarterbacks the ability to win the game for them. They didn't coach their quarterbacks and utilize their quarterbacks properly.
Yeah. So, see, I wouldn't be praising Condell too much, though, because like I said, I think Winnipeg could have had the lead earlier, and if they just utilized Brady, but he didn't.
Yeah. Oh, I'm not saying Condell.
He didn't coach well, but he outcoached. He did marginally better. Better.
Hamilton was moving the ball and getting yards, but they weren't scoring as the way that we've seen with them. The other 2 things that I think were worth mentioning in the game was, to me, the Winnipeg receivers were just blocking like crap. They didn't seem to be interested in making a block. And a lot of their play calling depends on that. Their bubble screens and some of their sweeps, and they just didn't seem interested. And I got to say, he took 2 PI penalties, but I thought their new corner, Major Williams, played a hell of a game. He ended up getting that interception late, and he was covering Lawler mostly and did an exceptional job on it. My opinion. Okay, let's just hop off of this one because it's a traumatic experience for MJ and we don't want any more triggers. Let's get to power rankings. Have you got some for us, GT?
I do. So this week I'm calling, this week was the salad bowl. We just tossed everything out the window and everything into the big mix. And it is now week 5 and we're into the point where things are starting to crystallize. And then all of a sudden, no, that's not working. And it's just a big mess. So I tossed it all around and these are the results I am standing by them only so much as I am speaking them. So believe it or not, I still have Saskatchewan at number 1.
I am shocked again.
Because they won. As badly as they played, they still won. So I still have them at number 1. Edmonton, I have at number 2 because as badly as they played, they lost. So I have them at number 2. So Montreal, by virtue of not playing, remains at number 3. Then I have Calgary because they look pretty good, and that defense is coming around. And the offense has played well over the 4 games. I've only won 2 of them, but they've played well. So I have them at number 4. I have Toronto at number 5 because, Toronto still looks pretty good. Yep. They lost, but they still look pretty good. I have BC after Toronto because there's some promise there. If nothing else, there's some promise there. I have Winnipeg at next, but Winnipeg, that could shift all the way. If Zack is back this week, that will probably change their report. Then I have Hamilton, and then I have Ottawa. So that's how I have them as of this week. So there you go.
Again, a little bit shocking. I will say, even as a Rider fan, after the last couple of weeks, I wouldn't have had them above probably 3 at the best, maybe 4. But.
Well, then you know what? And I kept thinking that too, and that's where I said it's a salad bowl because I didn't know, like, when logically, there's a reason to move every team every. Okay, Edmonton, they look really good in the first 3 games. They look really bad this week, in my opinion, and I think that exposed them. So are they that good? No, I don't think so. Saskatchewan looked really bad, but they have all the ingredients. So they're probably better than they look this week. And then, like, if Montreal had played, they might have been the number 1 team, but they didn't. I don't know. Yeah. It's a weird week, and I think things settle down again next week, but that's where they are this week.
I agree with that. I mean, to Saskatchewan's credit, they just lost the chemistry, the connection between Emelis and Harris, as well as Schaefer Baker and Harris. And I don't know if they're maybe hurt more than maybe they should have been holding them out for the game or whatever. But when that went wrong, they turned around and went to Johnson, and he ended up, something like 10 catches for over 100 yards. I'm not panicking at all yet, but there are some other teams that at this point look a little better than the Riders to me.
There's optimism for some other teams, but the Riders are still winning, so you still got to give them the due.
Okay, well, thank you for that. And again, we'd love to hear you from all of you in the comments. What do you think? And like I've said before, if you're happy with our rankings, they're the CFL Outsiders Power Rankings. If you're upset with them, they're the GT Barnum Power Rankings. Normally, I get here to the injury reports, but I did want to just throw in one other comment here at this point because it kind of applies to picking the games this week. Are you ready to rant? And I know that the media's job is to hype us up and make us think it's a competitive league. Bad teams are better than they are. But I really get bothered by the fact that we've got people out there talking so much about, well, look at Jake Mayer. He's coming along. He's really coming along, and he's getting, these games are getting close, and there's real hope in Ottawa. Well, 2 weeks ago, he was playing against a Montreal team that had 2 backup cornerbacks in, and he made passes against some of them. Yeah, that's good. Last week against Saskatchewan, the defense held Saskatchewan to 27 points. You should be able to win a game that way. And he got 7 points off of a short field on an interception. And then they blocked a punt, and he couldn't even get it in for a touchdown, so he got 3 points. And that was the bulk of their scoring within the first 10 minutes of the game. So
he disappeared for the second and third quarters again. And it was only in the fourth quarter that they looked like they had any offense again.
Yeah, so don't tell me there's hope for Ottawa with Mayer in there, because I don't see it. Likewise with BC, they came back and beat Edmonton. They had a great game plan. Yes, they did. But BC's problem on defense has been their back end. Edmonton is a running team. BC has been good at stopping the run in their games. They haven't given it up. So they hit the perfect team to play against. Cody Fajardo is a good quarterback that'll do a lot, but he's not the guy who's going to pick apart a weak defensive backfield the way everybody else has been. So everyone's saying, well, at least look, the BC defense is coming back. What a great game plan. I think 3 Down Nation gave Benavides the coach of the week. No, he fell into a spot where his talent
Did not.
scheme happened to work. Yes, they did.
No.
And then on top of that, they're talking about the fact, well, and BC hasn't been able to run the ball, but they've worked through that because, look, Butler went for so many yards.
Why wasn't Dave Dickinson coach of the week after Stampede Bowl? 58 points. It's okay. 3 Down also put Tyler Elgrisma saves like bombers and wins for bombers. And I was like, oh, did he?
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, no, don't do that. And then, but like I said, so now, yeah, Butler's so many yards, the BC running game back is, yeah, because Edmonton had a raw rookie at weak side linebacker who got exploited all game. So don't expect BC to do that again. Don't expect Ottawa to do this again. Don't buy into this hype that these teams are, look, they won a game or they came close to winning a game. It's turning around. Pay attention to what's actually
because we are talking about it.
Yeah, but look at something other than the friggin' statistics in a game. The fact that a team gives up 100 yards in a game can have a lot to do with what's going on with the score and everything else. Drives me crazy. There's my old man rant.
I'm so glad it's not just me that goes off on this show. Here, I'm sitting here being the calm one.
Yeah, you're very calm today. 2 of us are like, that's it.
Well, hey, that's how good team works. When one person goes one way, we got balance here. We got good balance in our offense here. We need whoever needs to step up can. Okay, we're getting close to 2 hours, so let's get through to our predictions. First, I'll tell you the injury report's not a lot to report because we're back to the 4 games a week, so we only see the first bit. The first one, Ottawa at Edmonton, they've already said who's available, questionable, or out for sure. And 3 names on it that are out aren't names that necessarily are going to stand out towards you. Hutter, Petaway, and Bordeaux. I'm having trouble with that name. Anyway, backups that you wouldn't think so much of, except Hutter is the backup safety, and the other 2 are the backup MAC linebackers behind Niles Morgan, who is back in but got dinged up last week. So that could be significant. On the Ottawa side there on the defense, they're down to some questionable situations at least. And then Keelan White is questionable. As far as Edmonton went, Mechie is out, and that's basically the only other teams that have practiced. Toronto and Winnipeg. Toronto Judge did not participate the first practice. Winnipeg did not practice today for some reason. They're waiting till tomorrow, so no report there. Calgary
and Taylor Swift after party.
Yes, must have been. Calgary, the only one out is Grant, the DB again, did not, or not necessarily out, but did not participate, so that doesn't look good. For Montreal, Ento, the corner that was out last week, did not participate, and Lawrence Speaker and David Dallaire were all limited, so I can't remember if Dallaire has been out for a while. Lawrence and Speaker have been. Maybe they're close to coming back. And the good news for Montreal is that Burns was back practicing full on the other corner. So that looks good. And then the other 2, the last game, Hamilton at Saskatchewan, there's no reporting because they don't start practicing till next week because of the Sunday game, or till tomorrow. Till tomorrow because of the Sunday game. Who goes first? I will, I guess. I still think Edmonton's a better team, and they're at home. I'm going to go with Edmonton on this. GT?
By a large margin.
Okay. And MJ?
I am looking forward to Ryan's rant after the game about who messed up this time. That wasn't his fault.
Yes. Yeah, he even took some swipes at Mayer, which was... Anyway.
I see.
Toronto at Winnipeg. We don't know if Zack is playing. We don't know what's going on with the quarterback situation. We don't know if anybody else was hurt because they haven't practiced yet. Let's see. We'll let... what do we got left here? So, yeah, we'll let you go, GT. You go first.
I'm taking Toronto. I'm taking Toronto only because I don't know. I don't know who's going to stop this offense at this point. I just don't know who's going to stop this offense. Calgary didn't stop this offense. They just out-offensed them.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I can't see Winnipeg, even with Zack back, being able to do that. I don't know. I just don't know who's going to stop this offense. So I'm taking
MJ.
It pains me to say this, but I'm also taking Toronto. I don't even know if Zack's playing. If it's Elbrisma, they're in trouble, and they're just. I don't think they're going to be able to outgun Kelly.
Yep.
I'm with you both on it. Right now, it feels like you've got to score over 40 points to beat Toronto.
He's going to throw 4 interceptions, but he'll probably throw 5 touchdowns.
Exactly. We're going to let you go first again, GT, because Calgary here. Calgary at Montreal.
Okay. Tougher choice than I think. I'm going to take Calgary. As I said last week, I think it's going to be a close game, but this one I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. I just have a feeling this is going to be a slugfest, but a low-scoring slugfest. So, like in that 27-22 kind of range.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'll go next. And to me, again, I agree with you. This is a tough one to call, but there's basically having to make a decision one way or the other. Montreal is at home. They're not traveling, which helps. And while Saskatchewan, talk again. My tongue won't work tonight. While Calgary had a fantastic game last week and will probably have a very good game this week, expecting them to duplicate last week's effort it's just not realistic. That was a once in a career almost game for VA. So I don't know. I don't expect it to be a blowout, but I would put it in score somewhere in the mid to upper 20s to 30 something, and I think Montreal will probably win by maybe a field goal. How about you, MJ? I know there's somebody in your house who would definitely go with Montreal, but how much do you get influenced by that?
Well, it's a lot of pressure when I have to wear Alouettes gear when I don't pick them and they win.
Yeah. Well, and it must be a little pressure to have to answer to not picking them.
But I think he would agree that Calgary is a formidable opponent this week.
Yes.
Can VA duplicate that against Montreal coming off the bye? I wonder what Alexander's foot is doing.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
That, and plus, it looks like Ento may not be in, so there may be at least one backup corner in for VA to...
I'm going to risk it and pick Calgary.
Okay. I should say here, by the way, because I've done some subtle jabs at y'all when there's been a couple of times that we've gone, the two of you against me, and I've turned out right. So, since I took the jabs, I should also take the humble pie here and mention that last week I picked Toronto and you both picked Calgary. So well done for both of you.
How dare
Maybe
you?
I should learn and change over to Calgary, but no.
Next year for Stampede Bowl, you will know better.
Okay, and then the toughest decision of the week. The one that's going to be probably the closest game at all. Hamilton going into Saskatchewan. Starting for the gala. And MJ, you get to go first.
I have no faith that Jared Baines will properly scheme for Trey Ford or Jake Dolagala. No faith whatsoever. I hope their defense plays better, but I don't know. What a mess. You know what? If they had a different coaching staff, I would say they could maybe figure this out, but they don't, so they can't.
Okay, so riders for you. How about you, GT?
Every year, there's a game in Regina that Saskatchewan is absolutely should, and somehow they mess up every year. They do this. This is the perfect game for that to happen, where they have absolutely no reason to lose, and somehow they. But that ain't happening this week. Not a chance.
I was like, oh, look at you thinking that.
Yes.
But not a chance. No, this is Saskatchewan all the way. They've got to, at some point, be mad at themselves for the way they played in the last 2 weeks. They've got to be, at home, and they've got an opponent that's in disarray at this point in time. So, yeah, there's if they lose this game, they really need to
Down
be
to
doing
the bottom of the power rankings.
Yeah. There's got to be some soul searching in Regina if they lose this game.
Trey Ford dazzles in Regina.
But Trey Ford's done it again. Remember when he was in Edmonton?
Oh, I know.
He did.
But
He's done it to them.
Jarius Jackson. That was Jarius Jackson letting him off the leash, right? You know, but I was thinking, just to like quickly summarize, remember Arbuckle played not great last year, and then once they finally let Nick Arbuckle like play how he wanted to play, he went on a tear. If only they would just like let quarterbacks play to their strengths.
Yes.
Remember MBT's only good game was in Regina last year. So like these weird things happen, but I don't see it this week.
Yeah, that was another one where he was
this
going
week in Edmonton. That team's all stomping ground.
There we go. Yes, and again, this is where I talk about don't just look at the stats. That game in Saskatchewan was with half of a defensive backfield, so you know there were reasons for it. And I would counter to you, I do not disagree with you that every year Saskatchewan does one of those games, but we've had our quota because it was 2 weeks ago against Toronto. There's no way we should have lost that one.
That was Toronto's home game, so it doesn't count.
That's right. That was a home game for Toronto.
Hamilton defense I see as middle of the pack. They do a lot of good stuff. They take the ball. They can take the ball away a lot. They do some good stuff, but they've also a lot of their stats are dependent on the fact that Bo hasn't been just throwing, he throws deep balls, but he's also been controlling the time of play and giving them a lot of rest. I think that if they have to try and go against the Saskatchewan offense, which will figure out whatever's going on there, whether they hold out one or two of the receivers and give them a game off for this, and the defense will not give Hamilton a lot of long drives. Because even that game you mentioned when Edmonton came into town, yes, Trey Ford was great, but he had both Rankin and Leak that scored long touchdowns in that game, and it was him pressing the edges, making the line expand and opening holes in the middle. And Roundtree looks like a pretty good running back, but he doesn't have the speed to exploit it the way they did. So, no, I could be wrong on this one, but I think this should be a Saskatchewan victory by at least a touchdown, maybe 10 points. And which means, of course, that just like in my fantasy here this week, I'm against the Shots from the Hip podcast is last place in scoring in the league, and I was first place this week, which I said to myself, well, there's where I can see myself being blown out, because I'm very much a Riders fan in that, and my traditions are the same. Okay, I think we got to close down here. Time to say goodbye and get off for the night. MJ, closing thoughts?
Yeah, look for me at the Hamilton Tiger Cats training facility where I am trying out for QB number 1.
Oh, good.
Yeah, running Instagram, posting on Blue Sky and Sports and Plants, and see me suited up for the game on Sunday.
All right. You got the jersey already.
Yeah, I'm ready to go.
GT.
All right, everybody, you can find me where required and when required. GT Barnum on bluesky.net.social, whatever it's called. From there, and other than my usual nonsense here each week. So we'll look forward to it next week and look forward to the games.
Good stuff. And as always, you can find me at oldman-sac.bluesky.social. And you can find the CFL Outsiders on just about every social media platform outside of Facebook, just as at the CFL Outsiders. So look us up, check us out there. Also check out the stuff on CFL Reddit, r/CFL, where I'm Old Man Shouting Cloud. I won't go on with the usual bag about subscribing and all that, because we're already getting late and we're almost falling asleep. So I hate to think what we're doing to you. So until next week, for MJ and GT, this is Old Man saying, get the hell off my lawn.